Everybody, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Hunter Mercurio. I'm the Public Information Officer for Reno PD. Thank you everybody so much for showing up for our very first town hall this year. Very exciting. We just want to give a huge shout out to all our tablers, as well as Jennifer Alvarez. She really helped set this thing up, so super awesome. Kind of some housekeeping stuff. If anybody needs to use the restroom, restrooms are across the hall to the right. As the PowerPoint's turned on, the lights are going to dim a little bit just so that you guys can see everything a little bit better. We just want to thank everybody who's helped set this up. And with that, I will introduce Chief Nance. Sorry, real quick, if there's any interpretation as well that's needed, we have Detective Ivan Trigueros. I'm going to have him come up here real quick. Just if there's any questions, he'll be in the crowd to assist with that as well.
Muy buenas noches, soy el Detective Trigueros. Si alguien necesita asistencia con traducción, aquí voy a estar disponible en este lado. Gracias.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so thank you for being here. This is exactly what we're doing in 2026. I think you guys are all, I'm really happy to have you all be a part of the first town hall. Just so we're clear, this thing moves, so I'm not going to touch it anymore because it's going to roll off the stage, and that's going to make me nervous. We're going to move this because I don't like it. I'm going to stand over here. I don't like the podiums. I'm not real good behind podiums because I'm going to touch it the whole time. 2026 really was an opportunity, is an opportunity for us to be out in the community in different spaces. I had a conversation with my team and the city manager's office, and they said, what do you want to see? What do you want to do in 2026? And I said, I want town halls. I want to go to places where the people are, where they live. I want to meet them where they're at in a place that they're comfortable coming forward and having a conversation with the police officers, for them to have a chance to meet the officers that police their neighborhood and to hear a little bit about what's happening in the Reno Police Department. And I want a chance for them to come forward and ask us those hard questions. And miraculously, about 2 weeks later, I was presented with an amazing plan, which is what you're seeing here today. So who are my planners? Where are you guys at? Come forward just a little bit out of the back and say hello. And this is, you did a phenomenal job. And I can't thank you enough for bringing my rambling ideas to reality and allowing this to happen. So thank you. Everybody give a big round of applause for this team. So a couple of things that to address on just some rules. I like rules. I'm a rule follower, and I like those. We are all different. Everybody in this room has different backgrounds, different experiences, and different expectations for tonight, and really for everything. And I think that those differences are what really brings us closer together. Sounds like that's not really possible, but that's my opinion. So you're going to hear from people. We're going to hear from me. I'm going to talk a little bit about the police department, some things that have happened, and then we're going to open it up for questions. There's going to be a microphone over here. If you need any assistance with that, let us know. There's one over here too. Let us know. But I want to hear from you. But my ask is that if you have a question, ask it, because you're not going to hear the answer if you don't ask the question. But my ask from everybody else in the audience is to be respectful of those answers, because we all have differences of opinion. So we will treat you with respect, and we want everybody in this room to treat each other with respect. There might be something that I don't know the answer to, because I don't know everything. Don't tell my husband that. Promise? He's sitting right there. So, but with that, please, really, truly, do not tell my husband that I don't know everything. But I don't know everything. So if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know. I'm not going to make it up. I'm not going to give you some, halfway complete answer. I'm going to say I don't know. And then somebody in the audience, one of my partners here, might come over and ask you for your name and a number for the sole purpose of me to get back with you. If you don't want to give your phone number or name and you don't want the response, that's fine. But if you do want that contact, we want to follow up. And I also want to follow up on questions and problems that you have, if we can help you solve them in a different way. That being said, I also would be remiss if I did not introduce a couple people that are here. J.W. Hodge is in the back. Assistant City Manager Hodge is here. He is my boss, so he's grade me on this. I think my evaluation's next week, so I think he's actually grading me on this. And then Councilmember Ebert, thank you for being here with us, our North Valley's representative. And we were talking. Sorry, I interrupted her. Give her another round of applause because I interrupted it. We were talking in the hallway, and I said I always appreciate her diversity in thought and her diversity in ideas and her willingness to look at things from all different angles. So thank you very much for being here. I have members of my executive team and some other members of the police department here, and my husband is sitting right over there. James, wave. Say hi. I forced him to come because he was like, well, I don't want to be here. But no, he does. But, you know. All right, so I'm going to get started on this. He loves to watch me talk more than he has to normally. That was him laughing. Did you hear that? Okay, so the Reno Police Department, I want to talk a little bit about our mission, vision, and values. So last year, we developed what we called our strategic plan. The Reno Police Department did not have a strategic plan before last summer. We didn't really have guiding lights, vision. What are we doing? We did a lot of things, but we really needed an opportunity to put a strategic plan together so that our members and people in the community could see what we prided ourselves on and where we were at. And I'm sorry, I need to go back one because it's not on my slide, so I forgot. I'm going to actually hop into one other thing. Before we get started on the rest of the presentation, I do want to address the officer-involved shooting that we had on last week, on last Tuesday. Very unfortunate and tragic incident for our entire community. If you have not seen the video or heard about it, the video is up on our YouTube page. It was posted today. We have an obligation, and I use that term very loosely because we know that it's what we want to do, but we have an obligation to our community to continue to build trust by providing that information. The question I get the most is, why is that video redacted? And so I'm going to answer that question first because this is an ongoing investigation. This is a critical incident. There is a lot of body camera and other footage to sort through. We, the Reno Police Department, after being involved in an incident like that, do not investigate it ourselves. It is investigated by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. They are still in the middle of their investigation. So I don't have all the information. And as it is an ongoing investigation, I can't answer a lot of questions that some of you might have. And quite frankly, they're probably the same questions I have, but I don't have those answers yet until I complete that investigation. The video is redacted because there is a lot of video to show. Eventually, it will come out in its unredacted form. Under state law, we do have to redact officers' faces and names before releasing them. That's a state law. I obviously try not to violate state laws, so I would never put something out that would cause that violation to occur. So some of that redaction is mandated by state law. During this incident, officers encountered a subject. They were called to a subject who was on a bridge and who people were concerned about. So it was a welfare check. There were several different callers in on it. After several minutes, about 15 minutes of negotiating and talking with him and trying to diffuse the situation, the suspect ran at the officers with a very heavy chain, swinging it at the officers. This resulted in an officer-involved shooting where one of our officers shot. During that incident, one of his rounds struck another officer who was hit in the vest. Unfortunately, the suspect in that was pronounced deceased at the scene, and he did pass away from his injuries. These are very tragic and unfortunate situations for everybody involved. They're hard for our community members to hear. They're hard for people that knew, loved, and cared about this person to hear. They're hard for the officers involved in these situations to be a part of. And they do create long-lasting tragedy and issues that we have to deal with. And it's sad all the way around. There's no other way to put it. Most people do not like to watch violence or see violence in any form, and especially against another person. And so that makes it all it makes it all much harder. With all that being said, again, we are committed to transparency, and we are committed to providing as much information as we can about that, and we will continue to put information out. We will open this up for questions after the presentation, and if there's additional questions that I can answer about that incident, I'm more than happy to. So we'll hold those questions until we get a little bit farther down. Then we're going to move on back into the PowerPoint. So our mission at the Reno Police Department is to provide all members of our community with professional and innovative police services to improve safety and our quality of life. So how do we do this? Through our vision. Our vision statement is fostering community trust through honorable and ethical policing. So we do this through 3 different pillars that we look at when we're deciding how we're going to make decisions, both for how we budget things, how we deploy our officers, and how we use additional resources. The first one is really using a modern policing approach. So we want to use a compassionate and community-focused and impartial mindset. We teach impartial policing. We teach implicit bias to our officers. We have a lot of training that goes into how do we continue to provide services with this method in mind. We want to bring in strong community partnerships. We have partnerships within our city very effectively, and as you've seen here, we have a lot of partnerships with different nonprofits, other service groups, and other people who can provide additional services and resources. We want to make sure that our officers are aware that these services exist in our community. So if they go to a call for service and somebody needs assistance, who do they reach out to? They reach out to Gospel Center Rescue Mission if somebody is in need of food, or food pantry services through Catholic Charities. Maybe somebody's experiencing or has experienced domestic violence or other violence incidents. How do we give them to services that they need? So we really want to make sure that we have those strong community partnerships, because that's what's going to make everybody safer. And then an empowered and proactive staff. I want my staff to do the same thing that I do. I want them to see a problem, come up with a solution, and then work towards solving that problem. So what is the problems that they're seeing in their jobs every single day? We have a lot of different people that work at the police department. We see a lot of different issues. I want them to proactively come up with solutions to those and put those into action. What are our values? Our values are dedication, initiative, integrity, honesty, and transparency. We embody these values not just externally in what I expect them and the services that they provide to our community, but also in the way that we treat one another internally. And these values go from every level in the department. I hold myself accountable to these exact same values that I expect every other officer and professional staff member in our organization to hold themselves to. So we put these on the walls, we put these out there for people to understand. We judge our people by how they are using and embodying these values. This is what I want from everybody that works for us. So one of the biggest questions I get a lot is about staffing. What is the staffing like at the Reno Police Department? Where are we at? So we are budgeted for 361 positions, sworn positions that is. Currently, I have 352 sworn members of the organization. In fiscal year 26, due to some financial concerns, we froze 6 sworn positions. So those have not been filled. They're not budgeted right now for me to fill. And we currently have 3 vacancies. I'll talk a little bit about how those are deployed in just a second. For my professional staff member, which is all the other people, not the police officers, but every other person. We have some professional staff members here that work in our front desk. We have community service officers. We have a lot of different places in the department that we employ people that are not just sworn. And so we want to make sure that those staff members are recognized just the same. They have a lot of jobs, a lot of different duties, and truly the department would not run without each and every one of them there. We have 82 professional staff members. We are budgeted for 97, so we do have 15 vacancies right now. We're working feverishly to fill some of those vacancies. A lot of these vacancies are based on retirements, and so it takes a little while for us to fill positions, both sworn and professional staff positions. So this is our big goal for the next 2 months, is to get those positions filled. So what are our staffing challenges? I only have 3 vacancies, everybody says. So yeah, that sounds like you don't have a staffing challenge. Right now, most of you in this room work for some business or have worked for a different business, maybe own your own business. You understand how hard it is to create staffing right now. That sometimes hiring people is challenging, and getting people to continue to work can be challenging. We have those same types of challenges. So listed at the bottom here are the different things that people are doing in our organization. This is just our sworn side right now. But some people are on light duty, meaning they're having some sort of injury or illness that it doesn't allow them to fully function as a police officer out on the streets. And so those people are doing jobs inside. I have some people that are off without an ability to do any work. And so those people are accounted for in this. And accounted for in this also are people that are in the academy. In January, we hired 24 sworn members of our department, and they're all in the academy right now. So we're really pushing forward with getting them out onto the street. Does anybody in the room know? I'm going to ask a question because you guys are very quiet and I don't like it. I feel like I'm the only one talking. Actually, I'm the only one talking, probably why. Does anybody know how long a police academy is? Anybody? Anybody want to guess? 7 what? 7 sequels. I like that. I don't know that that's the right answer, but anybody else want to guess? How many? No, not 4 years. It is about 6 months, a little less than 6 months. But when they get out of the police academy, they then go through an in-house training program, which can last another about 5 months. So from the time somebody's hired until they're a fully functional police officer on the street by themselves is almost a year. And so from the time I get somebody through those doors, it is 1 year before you actually actualize that position to go out and respond to a call for service. And even then, they're still very new and young, and they still need help. And so we still have a training program for them even after that space to continue that training. So right now I have 23 people in the training program. 3 of those are lateral police officers, meaning they were police officers in other places before they came here. So what that means is about 22% of my sworn members of my department are non-deployable. It means I can't send them out if there is an emergency. I can't send them to your house if you have a call for service there and they're not policing in your neighborhood because they're not actually working in that space. So only about 78% of our sworn members of our department are out on the street. We have a lot of different teams that you might see. So these are just some of them. Some of these are plainclothes. Some of those are uniforms. They all do different functions. Some of these are regional teams that we work on with Sparks or with the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. And some of these you saw here tonight. You saw the Raptors, which are unmanned aerial vehicles, or our drones. They were here. And then you really do get a sense of how these things work in our department when you see how many different places there are other than just patrol officers. So we decided that we wanted to do these town hall based on policing districts because it's where we're at most. So our policing districts are broken up to 3 different districts, the north, central, and south. North is blue, that's where we're at right now. Green is central, it's the smallest, and pink is south. So we're up here in north, and we're going to talk specifically about trends that we're seeing here. So our shift coverage on our patrol base, so not our special teams that I showed you the slide of, but our patrol-based officers, we have 41 officers that cover the North District. So those are, we divide them up in teams, which is 7 officers and 1 sergeant on 3 different shifts, and those are the different shifts that we have. So at any moment in time, you have a rotating number of officers that work in this district that are responding to calls for service and proactively policing here. So last year in the North District, so we're going to look at 2025 stats, we responded to over 38,000 calls for service last year in the North District alone. That's about 30% of the calls throughout the city. So it's 1/3 of the calls, which is what we would expect because it's 1/3 of the policing district. The Central District, even though it's smaller, contains our downtown area, has a higher call volume. It also has the police department, the hospitals, and things like that do generate more call volume because people go there and then call the police from there. So we do have more calls in that area. Of those, we break these down into 2 types of calls. One are community initiated. So somebody in our community called the police and needs service. So we would come out for that. We've had about 25,000 of those calls. An officer initiated or proactive assignment. Somebody goes out on a traffic stop or a checkout, or goes out to look at somebody suspicious, or does some sort of engagement with a business to say, hey, what's happening at your business? How's the things going? And goes to talk to them. Those are the officer initiated calls. And so it's probably about 1/3 of those calls are officer initiated, about 1/3 of those are community initiated. So what types of calls do we go to? So these are the community issue calls. These are when people in the community call the police. These are the types of things that we see mostly. The largest number of those are family disturbances. Those can be anything from a domestic violence incident, 2 roommates having some sort of problem together, or a parent and a child issue. That's what we see the most of. It is really one of the most common calls that we as police officers respond to is these family disturbances. Civil issues are things like your roommate's not moving out of the house when they should. Maybe you sold a car to somebody and they didn't give you all your money. There's like a lot of things that we respond, and usually those are more of a keep the peace type things. They're having a problem with each other, and so we go out there to help them with their problem. Unwanted persons, we see these a lot in businesses. Somebody's loitering in front of business, hanging out, doing something there, and the business owner calls and says, hey, they're causing a problem, can you make them leave? An unwanted subject. And then you can see the rest of the things that we've been to down here. These are the top 10 types of calls for service that we've responded to. And this is, again, just the North District. We completed 8,000 reports here, 25% of all reports taken citywide. Some of these are crime reports, some of these are other incident reports. The variety of different things can fall into this category. And then what are offenses? These are the types of crimes that were committed for us to take a report. So one incident might have multiple types of crimes associated with it. So if you have, maybe you have a business burglary, but we get them and they also have a stolen car. There would be 2 different offenses for one crime report. So our offenses don't add up to our crime reports ever. We have more offenses than crime reports always. So the top crime that we saw here was a simple assault. That is like a misdemeanor battery, or one person has something physical against another person. Those could include domestic violence cases. They could include a fight, or 2 kids in a fight at a park could be a simple assault. So it just depends on what the circumstances are. And of the top 10, the initiated ones, the lowest one that we see is shoplifting. Last year we handled 239 shoplifting offenses in this. So everybody always asks me, well, what does that compare to the rest of the city, or what does that compare to every other district? We see different problems depending on what type of things happen here. In our South District, we see a lot more shoplifting because there's a lot more of the different types of businesses in the mall and things like that. So this isn't surprising to me, but this is pretty normal. I want to talk a little bit back into the department about what we're seeing right now. We have a real-time information center. This opened up last year at Santa Claus, so a little over a year ago now. What it is, it's an opportunity for us to access real-time information that's being reported through surveillance video, through body camera video, and through different calls for service. We can look at what's happening in our city overall. We have these big screens that you see up here. I think you can, yep, they're right over here. The big screens that you can see up here, that's the whole city map. And each of those little icons on there show us something that's happening. It shows us where a call for service is pending. It shows where an officer is out on a call. It shows where we have cameras. And we are able to access that information to help us in our response to those incidents. So one of the things that we use are our businesses partner with us in camera data information so we can access that as officers are responding. One of the things I'm really excited about is, and it's coming soon in March, we're starting drone as a first responder. Some of you might have heard about this. An unmanned aerial vehicle or drone will be deployed here in the North Valleys to help us assist on calls for service. They can respond within 30 to 70 seconds and have a 2 to 3 mile range to get eyes on a call for service when it happens. So an emergency calls for service comes out, say an accident occurs, and it's an injury accident somewhere, as you're driving in here on one of the roads and there's an injury accident. We can send that drone out with a pilot flying it from farther away, and they can get eyes on a scene before the officers have a chance to get there. So that the person that's watching that on the screen can start to relay that information back and say, these are the things that are happening when the officers respond. Cities that have deployed drone as a first responder have seen a 25% decrease in calls for service and a significant decrease in officer use of force incidents, because the officers can curtail their response better based on what they're seeing from the eyes in the sky. So they have a better chance of responding that way. And I'm very excited. We're doing 4 different drone deployment areas. One is in north, 2 are in central, and 1 is in south. And we did that to mimic the calls for service that we're seeing to ensure that we have adequate coverage. And those should begin operation by April is our ultimate goal. They're starting their install in March, and we're right on track for that. So this is a super exciting program that we're really excited to launch. No pun intended. Fusus is our camera streaming system. It's an integration of all data video feeds that we see. So it allows us to partner with different businesses. So we have a partnership with several casinos and different businesses that allow us access to their cameras. So if something were to happen in their parking lot or we would have a crime nearby, we can see in real time what is happening there to help the officers respond and locate and identify people that are involved in those incidents. A perfect example of this, we had a stabbing homicide in the downtown area a little while ago, maybe a year ago or so now. And during that incident, we were able to access our cameras, identify who the suspect was, and then find where the suspect went to and had him in custody in about 30 minutes. This would have been a very challenging crime to solve because there was no real witnesses. There was 2 people involved, and we really didn't have a lot of information to go on other than utilizing those cameras. We are able to leverage our private partnerships to enhance these abilities. The businesses that have these allow us access to the cameras that they want us to have access to, but we don't have access to all their cameras. It's really only a monitoring system for us when we are responding to a call for service or a crime has occurred. With that, we also have a camera registry program. So if you have a camera at your house, a Ring camera, other surveillance cameras, you can register here and say, I have these cameras, so if a crime does happen in your neighborhood or there's suspicious activity, we know to reach out to you to say, hey, did you capture this or do you have any information about it? So this is one of the private camera registry programs. You can scan the QR code if you're interested and sign up under that. And all it is for us, there's no access to any of your data. It just gives our detectives and officers responding to calls an opportunity to know where they're going and better kind of curtail where we look for better information. So it's an opportunity for the public to help us out and register your cameras if you're interested. So with that, I think we're going to move on to questions because that's the best part of the night and the most interesting one. So my ask would be that you come up to the microphone and ask your questions just so everybody can hear. Otherwise, I end up repeating the question and I don't want to misspeak anybody's questions, and then we'll move on from there. And if needed, there's some people around the room that can help out with that. Somebody's got to be first. Okay, I got a couple. I was like, nobody's going to move first. I don't like that. Somebody has to move. Yeah, I've got somebody over here and somebody over there. And now, who's my moderator for this and helping me identify who's asking questions? Hunter? Right here. Thank you. I don't like to make decisions about who goes first. It's very stressful for me. It's the hardest part about these. Hi, sir. How are you? Absolutely. So we do use some AI. We use it in a very controlled manner. There is laws and policies that surround how we can use it. So it's developing into a lot of conversation and just trust from a lot of different systems. So one of the things that we need to be very clear about is we have some AI systems. We do not data share that with other agencies, and we do not share with federal partners. There's been a lot of news about AI and use of license plate readers and access by entities that are not intended in our communities. Ours are only shared with ourselves and Sparks Police Department. Sparks Police Department is a partner in our real-time information center. And so they work out of there jointly with us, so we share the information with them. We do have AI policies the city has AI policies, and we have AI policies that we ensure that we follow. And all incidents around AI have to be verified. So we have to have a way to verify. They're not solely the only mechanism that we utilize during an investigation. We have had errors in AI, and so we are very conscious of that, and we don't want to repeat those errors. So how do we not repeat the errors? We conduct training. We ensure that our systems are secure and they're used only by our law enforcement officers for law enforcement purposes. We document their usage, and we ensure that we are not sharing information with people who do not have that law enforcement access to it. I'm by no means saying these systems are perfect. And know that there's AI everywhere. Almost every business in our community has surveillance videos, and a lot of them do utilize AI. And we have to be very cautious when responding to these calls to ensure that we are operating in the most efficient manner, but also for the safety of our community with as few errors as we can. It's new technology-ish, and like all new technologies, there is some growing pains and work to be done. And I do expect in the upcoming years, we are going to have more recommended policies. It's important to note that we use a company called Lexipol for all of our policies. So we are not writing our policies by hand and just making up stuff. Lexipol utilizes best policing practices, current state law, federal law to ensure that our policies are compliant with that. And anytime there is any change, our policy updates for us so that we make sure that we're still compliant. And that's a new system for us in the last year. Big shout out to Captain Larson over there for running the entire Lexipol program. I think he is very sad that we went to it, but we're all very happy that he's happy we went to it. It was just a lot of work, but we're happy that we do have that ability. That was a very long answer for your very easy question. Did I answer it all for you? Absolutely. Thank you. Hi. Yeah, so we have gone back and forth on if we are, how we participate in Neighborhood Watch. So as things like Ring cameras, and thank you for fixing that mic, I don't think it's on. As things like Ring cameras have changed and demographics of neighborhoods have changed, people are less inclined to get to their neighbors, the success of Neighborhood Watches have also somewhat declined. I'm not saying that they're not successful, I think this is the participation. For us at the Reno Police Department, when we want to participate in something like a neighborhood watch, our goal becomes how do we drive the neighborhood to be the ones that are participating, and we help out with any way we can. So we are absolutely not opposed to being participative in that, but we really want the community to be the ones to do it, because I can't force people to show up. You guys are better as neighbors at forcing people to show up. So what I would like to see is neighborhoods and neighbors that are establishing those. Please reach out to us. We are more than happy to come out and speak at the Neighborhood Watch, but we really do want the neighbors to drive them. I can get you in touch with Captain Clark, right? Is that the right person for this? Okay. He'll reach out. He'll come over and get your name and info and get some info from you. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
You guys all lined up over there. There's another mic. I feel like we're at the grocery store, the long line, and we're helping
Right.
next guests over here. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, you're all sitting. Oh, you guys are working smarter, not harder. I like it. Good job, guys.
Right.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Linda Curry, and I live over in Cabernet Highlands. I have a question. There's nothing in the news, either the paper or the television news, about ICE activity here in Reno. Is that because there isn't any, or is there some? And if so, if there is some, how do you coordinate with them?
Absolutely. So we get this question quite frequently. Immigration and immigration law is a federal offense. It's a
Right.
federal crime. Municipal police departments cannot arrest people for a federal crime. It's outside of our jurisdiction. It's not something we legally can do.
Right.
So our cooperation with immigration is not, it doesn't really fall into the same as our partnerships with, say, our other federal partners when we're working on task forces or say the Washoe County Sheriff's Office or Sparks Police Department. We really cannot do any immigration enforcement. So our partnership with immigration is in the sense of if they have an emergency or an incident with a violent person or somebody that they think is going to commit a community hazard, we will help them to avoid a community hazard. And the example that I give of that is if they have somebody that is like an armed person that they feel is that they're going to do a search warrant on, or they're going to try and arrest, and that person escapes and they're now loose in our community, we're going to go out and help them to ensure that the community is safe from this person. We have not been asked to participate in any immigration raids or any immigration enforcement. And any of those requests that we get from immigration have to be approved through the chief of police, through me. Per our policy, we cannot even ask, I can't even say, well, Hunter, you're in charge of any of those requests. I can't do that per our policy. They would all go through me. And we have received none of those. So I'm not going to say that they're not doing stuff here. It is also different at the jail because at the jail, there is a space where we have to comply with people being checked to see if they have any warrants or any holds. And that happens at the jail. It really does happen outside the Reno Police Department. Our policy is that we don't ask about citizenship or status or any other information. You guys saw my staffing issues. We have enough other issues. I don't have the staff to do that type of enforcement, even if I could. My goal is to make our community safe, and that's what we're looking at.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I have other question as long as I have the microphone.
There's a line of people behind you. They might
I
get
know,
mad, but I'm going to let you do
but-
whatever you want.
I know that you're short staffed, but is it possible to get more monitoring of speeders over by Alice Smith Elementary? It is such a dangerous situation.
Absolutely. So what I encourage everybody to do, especially traffic issues like that you see, we'll get somebody to get the information. Well, we'll write it down. My traffic captain is Captain Larson. He'll make sure that they're, and my traffic lieutenant's right over there taking a note diligently. I see that. He's already got it. But if you do have speeders in your neighborhood or things like that, Reno Direct is really the best place to put that information in. Our traffic unit then gets that information, and then they respond out there and do that additional enforcement. And then you'll get a note back saying what we did. Traffic enforcement's really challenging because we'll be out there for a few days, people will slow down, and then 2 weeks later they start up again. So don't hesitate to put it back into Reno Direct, because our traffic unit operates in 3 ways. They go to the areas of highest number of traffic accidents, they go to areas where we're getting citizen complaints from Reno Direct, and then places where they can write a lot of tickets because that's what they like to do best.
All right.
So, but definitely put it in Reno Direct if you have those concerns.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, ma'am. Did we shut off the other mic over here? Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? My
Welcome.
name is Jordan Abshire. And my question is, how can you be satisfied with your protocols when a welfare check resulted in the death of Michael Johnson Jr.?
Absolutely. I think that one of the couple things that are really important to note on that, it's a terribly unfortunate situation all the way around. I can't stress that enough to everybody. The protocols that are in place in our response to suicidal subjects and people with mental illnesses are very robust. The biggest issue that we face in that space is that when people are in crisis, sometimes they are violent, and sometimes it does require the police to go. I would prefer that I could send mental health clinicians to every single incident like that, but sometimes that's not an option if we are worried about the safety of other people also. And so we continue to evaluate our policies and protocols, and we will continue to do that throughout and improve wherever we can. And I think they can be more robust. I think in this state and in this community, we need additional mental health workers and mental health care options. And what I want to see is those services be utilized and be more present before the police have to be called or involved, because that's where the prevention, I think, really does start. But we're going to continue training our officers on mental health. We're going to continue training them on crisis intervention. I will say that they have contact with people in crisis multiple times every single day, and very few of those incidents result in a shooting. And unfortunately, this one did. And we're going to continue to evaluate it. And I know that there's a lot of people in this room and in our community that have distrust, and they don't feel confident with my answers. And I appreciate that. I understand why that can happen. But no, we're continuing the investigation, and I want the same answers you do.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Anna Hurt.
Hi, Anna.
I would love to hear more about the justification for spending nearly $500,000 on AI surveillance and about $2 million on drones, when the most team, the mental health service officers, do only have about 1 to 4 team members, as far as I understand. And from what I understand, having less staff means that there's less folks available to assist in mental health crises. And I would like to know if we're just going to continue increasing the payment for these advancements in tech, or if we are going to pour any resources into mental health services.
Absolutely. I think the goal is both. I think part of that is that we do have mental health workers, our most team on staff. We have a few. We do not have enough. I would agree with that. I think one of the best ways for us to do that is to continue to partner with our outside resources that we already partner with, and in hope that those services improve and increase. I think that there is an opportunity there when you look at things like drone as a first responder. Over the course of 6 years, that is almost $2 million that we'll be spending on that. But it's about $300,000 a year. I think when you look at the data, that the decrease in officer-involved use of forces will decrease as those drones are deployed, because we have a better way to monitor and look at resources and increase our response. I do think that it does help. I don't disagree with you that we need more funding for mental health. I think that we need to be better partners with our county organizations, with human services, and that we need to continue to work on them and rely heavily on them to provide those services. And as I said, I think a lot of this has to do with the services that are provided before a person is in crisis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Chief Nance.
Hi.
So I have a question about Title 8, Chapter 8.12, and so everyone knows that is the anti-sitting, anti-lying ordinance that was passed last year. So as that was being passed, Councilmember Dewar asked RPD if she would be charged for napping in public, and you guys assured her that she wouldn't. So what do you look for in a person to enforce the anti-sitting, anti-lying ordinance?
I think that her question, if I remember it correctly, because I do remember saying that to her, was that she was sunbathing in a park and fell asleep, was her actual question, if I remember correctly. Could have been different. So really the point of this ordinance is to ensure that we do have that community safety, and we do have ability for people to pass through on streets and different sidewalks and things like that. That ordinance does, for enforcement, require that somebody has been warned previously. It does not apply on park benches. It doesn't apply on people sitting in places that are designated to sit. It doesn't apply to people that are in wheelchairs. There's a lot of different experts from that. What we're really trying to prevent is people from camping on our sidewalks and sleeping on our sidewalks. A lot of times those people require services and need services. Our first step is always outreach and to provide services. We have people here from our Clean and Safe team that have service providers with them. We have other service providers and outreach that we can do. But sometimes that enforcement is necessary to ensure that it is safe. But it is not our primary method of enforcement, nor is it something that we that is enforced as often as people think it is. We try to do more warnings and do more, give people the opportunity for some sort of service if they're willing to take it.
Hi.
This line's stressing me out. I feel like I'm at a grocery store. I feel like I need a 10 items or less line. It's not the questions, it's the line. The lines gets make me nervous about the line. I want to move through it faster. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Jude.
Hi, Jude.
I'm studying social work right now, and I've talked to people on the MOST team. I think there's a lot of people who want to combine police work with social work because, a lot of the people who, the police get called on are just going through mental health crises.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the police are very helpful when they show up to those situations. They just end up escalating things. And that was the situation with MJ. I don't know how you can conduct a welfare check to save someone's life and end up shooting them at the end of it. That seems like a mistake. It's clearly a failure. I talked to people on the MOST team too, and the one in Carson City, and they say that a lot of their job is de-escalating cops because the job itself is so violent that it kind of elevates their nervous system to the point where they're making rash decisions and they're not thinking these things through. I don't know how. My question, I guess, is why did the officers not wait for the MOST team to show up?
Yeah, I can't answer any more information. I can't answer any more questions about that because it's an active investigation. I can tell you that the MOST team members were called, but we don't put members of the public in harm's way if we don't feel that the situation is safe for them. So we won't utilize the most team members until the situation is controlled. And I would encourage you to maybe reach out to our most team members and talk to them about some of the concerns you have about that interaction, because I can't speak for the Carson City ones. I've never spoken to them. But our most team members spend a lot of time contacting people in crisis, people that are suicidal and people that are having mental health issues. And so their job really doesn't involve working with the officers in that way, the way that you described. So I would encourage you just to reach out to the Reno Police
My
Department and talk to
understanding
them.
is that their job is to help with welfare checks and to de-escalate those situations. So I'm confused why they didn't wait for them to
Yeah,
show up,
it
because it was
wasn't-
a welfare check,
Yeah,
wasn't
I
it?
can't answer any more questions about the investigation specifically.
All right.
We'll be putting more information out, but there's a lot of questions that I still have also. So
Okay,
we'll have
thank
to
you.
wait for that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Taylor, and I've been a resident of Reno for about 3 years now. And I work at the university along Valley Road. There's a pretty consistent high police presence there. It's about a mile north of where Michael Johnson was killed the other week. And my question is, I seem to always see police officers kind of just shuffling people that are unhoused along. And seemingly they have a lot of energy to do that, and yet there's not a lot of energy for public safety. And I think that the fact that Michael Johnson was murdered in this way is also demonstrative of this lack of accountability to the public. So I'm wondering how does this fit in with the department's priorities?
How does what fit in with the department's priorities?
How does just shuffling people that are unhoused along fit in with the department's priorities?
There is a level of a service request that we receive for different types of behavior, like loitering in the sidewalks or walking around or camping and things like that. And so we handle those as they come in. They're usually not as proactive of a response. They're usually things that we respond to. But I will say that sometimes those people have committed other crimes or have to go to jail, but a lot of times we do try to offer them resources and then try and get them into either the CARES campus or other crisis centers that we can help them with. No, loitering on the sidewalk or people that call in that somebody's in front of them. Hold on.
I
We're
will
not
just
gonna-
say that
again,
as a community
pause for a
member,
sec-
I
hold
do
on.
not feel safer seeing the police
I
acting in
understand
this
that.
way.
I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
We're not going to yell. We talked about this in the beginning. You're going to ask a question. I'm going to answer it. Sir, you can get in line and answer the question if you'd like. Next question, please. It's not the way we're going to do this meeting. There's a lot of people here that came for information. I understand you're angry. I am sorry that you're angry. We can talk about that, but we're not going to scream and yell from the audience. There's people here that have questions. And we can answer them. We can talk about it. We can meet afterwards, but screaming and yelling isn't a way that we're going to communicate with one another. Well, we're not going to do that here. We're going to have a conversation. Go ahead.
So my question is, if your goal is to reduce crime rates, and that hasn't seemed to happen with each budget increase, why then is the budget continuing to increase year over year?
There's a lot of reasons for the budget increases. I can't speak specifically as to why. Some of that has to do with employee cost. Some of that has to do with rising costs of a lot of other things, insurance and things like that. So I think that I would encourage you to participate in the budget meetings that are upcoming for the city of Reno and express your concerns there. I'm not in charge of how the budget's deployed. I don't get to choose my budget. That's given to us by the council. And so we do continually see increase in cost. Most budgets in the city have increased substantially over the years, and that's due to high cost of different things.
So if there's an increase, why isn't there a decrease in crime rates?
Well, there has been a significant decrease in several crimes. Last year to this year, our homicide rate is down about 57%. Shootings involving injuries were about 63%. We've seen a decrease in many crimes.
So we see in other cities like Baltimore, they keep reinvesting in measures like community centers, and libraries that are open later. Why are we not trying to invest in those things? Why are we
That
adding
would be
more
a
and more
question for your
money
city council members,
to
not
y'all
me.
with guns?
That would be a city council member question, not for me. I don't control the whole city budget. I can't answer. I really, truly just can't answer that. I don't control the city's budget. I'm sorry. I would encourage you, though, that if you do have questions for the city council, to attend and ask those questions, because I agree with you. Those are definitely things that need to be brought up, because quality of life throughout the city is something that we should deal with.
So,
Can I get a water? I've been like talking all. Oh, thank you.
I guess my question is, when we consider that RPD is predominantly a white institution, about 80% of your officers are white.
I'm sorry,
How-
what percentage did you say?
80%, roughly 80%. How are Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities supposed to feel safe, especially when we consider that Black Reno-nites are about 12% more likely to die than compared to white counterparts?
Understood your question as about diversity in hiring and diversity in the policing organization. Diversity in hiring is very important to us. Diversity in hiring, it requires the help from all of you. We have open recruitment all the time for police officers, and I encourage people to have their friends and family members and people you think would be a good fit apply. So routinely, our applicant pool is less diverse than I would like, and that's from the time of application.
I believe my question was misunderstood. What are you doing to make Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities feel safe?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about our hiring practices. I would say that our ongoing practices of implicit bias, of ensuring that we have all of the competencies to treat all people equal, and our policies are also lined out to ensure that there is equitable treatment for all people in our community, regardless of color, race, gender, any other identifying features. We continue to maintain those policies. And my expectation for my officers is that they treat every single person in our community the same. But if you have an issue with how you've been treated, or if you have a concern about how an officer responded to a call, I encourage you to report that. We conduct many investigations a year to ensure the safety of our community and ensure that our officers are following policy. Hi, sir. How are you?
Good evening.
Welcome.
My name's Jacob Collis, as I'm
Hey.
sure a lot of these police officers dealt with me this last year. I want to start off with saying that I myself am the most survivor. I've been dealing with domestic violence and a series of falsified TPOs that nearly took away my kid. At the same time, I don't feel that RPD was very helpful in this situation, but this is coinciding to the incident following up on Wednesday, and I understand that you can't answer certain questions because it's leading to a different investigation. However, there has been a year, or first off, I should start off with, I am preparing to speak to John Ryan, the National Federal Civil Rights Attorney, in producing a FOIA request into the Wednesday shooting. With so many FOIA requests and such grand delay in public access to certain records or overall attempts to stop the request, all the way up to the RPD practically begging the DA or even Chris Hicks himself to relabel the incident or deny any and all wrongdoing of practicing proper safety protocol down to strategic community outreach. As I stated, I can't get into the details with it, and I know you can as well. The officer approached amidst knowing that there was a mental situation. And as this is found, for local law enforcement, and if all majority of the community can see the obvious, why push transparency and not honesty after all these years? This isn't just since you've been elected. This has been an ongoing process. And coming from both sides of the fence, criminal and civil, I find it very deceptive of all law enforcement agencies trying to scratch their own backs and cover their own asses by having another local department And I see this through John Ryan's website as well. I mean, there's multiple police departments that practice the same tactic. And I've lived in this community damn near my whole life. So it is shameful to see this repetitive factor and know, like, there's people that, like, actually need it, like, and it's a reoccurring thing. There's people that genuinely needed help, and first thing RPD or the Sheriff's Department or Sparks PD came in, guns blazing. And I understand that the circumstances of each case are different, but being a felon and having survived everything that I went through, but without RPD's assistance, I'm genuinely like questioning, is there an ability for most to hire felons? And then on top of that, what can you do in the future to adjust this transparency towards more honesty and approach towards holding officers accountable?
So I think that there's a couple things here that I want to say to you. One, I'm very sorry that you do not feel that the service you received was adequate. So if you want to talk to somebody about that, I'm more than happy to have somebody talk to you about that, because I definitely don't want you to feel that way. So if there's something we can do to help you, please let me know, and I'll have one of these officers talk to you real quick about it if you're interested. And if you're not, totally understand.
I gotta sit down, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. And second of all, I think some of the things that you're bringing up about transparency and release of information and how those things work, some of those are laws and policies that are outside my abilities. So I do encourage, if anybody in this room feels that there is a law that isn't fair or equitable or actually decreases the transparency of the police department, please speak to your legislators about that, because they're the ones that can change state law to provide either additional resources, outside agencies to investigate these types of things. That is a very common thing that I hear, that people want a different agency to investigate when the police are involved with something, and they don't feel comfortable with just another police agency investigating it. But those are things that I can't change or control. They're things that you that feel very strongly about that, which I understand why you feel strongly about that, can control by dealing and hoping and talking to your legislatures and pushing them into things that are different. I'm not opposed to that, and I'll use the example that body cameras. When body cameras were suggested, they came from people in our community that wanted the police to wear body cameras and be more transparent. They pushed our legislature into mandating that, and now we all wear them. We don't mind wearing them. We are very happy wearing them. We like that transparency is out there. And I like it because it holds people accountable. It shows me what's happening on a daily basis. And it allows me to show you videos of what happened. And again, that doesn't make you like the video. I'm not saying that when you watch a video, you're gonna be like, oh, the police did a great job, and walk away from it. I expect you to ask us questions about it. But it allows me, that law, that change in our legislature allows me to be able to provide that to you. So if there's something you want changed legislatively, please go to your legislature and ask them to change it. I can't change the law, though. But I support you in those wishes. And that's not directly at you. It's kind of at everybody here. Yeah. I don't disagree with you. And I think there is a place for more additional mental health resources. I support that fully. Thank you. And if you would like to talk to me about that, please let me know. And you just can approach anyone and they'll help you with it. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Hello.
Hi. I apologize. I've been very emotional today.
I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. You're okay. Take your time. Take a deep breath. You're fine.
My name is Deanna, and I want to thank you for being here tonight. I just have 3 simple questions.
I'm a sympathetic crier. You're going to make me cry. I can't watch people cry. I'm literally going to start crying. You can't do this to me. What is wrong with you?
I have been crying since Tuesday.
I'm sorry.
I was one of the first callers for MJ. Mm-hmm. I did not know MJ, but I could see his pain. Are there any criteria that warrant an automatic response by the most unit when to a scene when a call is made?
Yeah, so there are some things that they respond to initially, but a lot of the things we respond to first. because sending somebody who could be hurt in that situation, like a most worker, they wait to show up until after a scene is secure. Unfortunately, that did not happen in this case, and I understand that as part of the frustration by this group. I absolutely understand that. But they go when a scene is secure, and when we know that they're not in danger, after a person has been searched, when we believe that they are in a safe place to continue those conversations. Because I wouldn't want you to get out and get hurt. I wouldn't want them to get hurt. Truly, this is the goal, is to create that community safety. And I understand that those words ring hollow in some of these circumstances, and I apologize for the pain that you're going through right now. We do have policies on most. It should be noted that all of our policies are online and available, and you can look at what those are. I unfortunately, I cannot regurgitate them to you right now, but it is something we can provide to you if you would like to see that. And there's criteria for when we can deploy a mental health resource. And in this situation, it wasn't one that we could deploy them initially in. We will send them. They were preparing to be there, but unfortunately, they did not get a chance to utilize their skill set.
I understand, and that is why I called you. I did not want to put myself in a position of not being safe. I have a 2-year-old at home. I'm a single mom.
I know.
As much as I wish I could have stopped to help him, I knew that was not safe for myself or any drivers around me. So
I'm very sorry that you have to go through this. I'm sure that this is very traumatic to you, and that's what I led with earlier, is these incidents are traumatic for our entire community, and they cause pain in places that people don't even know they've caused. Thank you for being here.
It was incredibly difficult to see him and come back an hour later to seeing his body on the ground. Is there an expected response time by the most unit once called to a scene?
It depends on if they're working and what they're doing and if they're involved in something else, so it just depends.
Are community members able to request the most unit when calling for a service? I understand that you have to secure a scene, but is that something that someone is able to call and request?
They can, doesn't mean that that would be the response. So when you call dispatch, you can say that you're having a mental health crisis, you want to speak to a most clinician, that we need that assistance. It is something that you can ask for. It doesn't guarantee that they'll be the ones that respond, but it is something you can ask for.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Good evening.
Hello.
My question is regarding your de-escalation protocol and training. On my review of the shooting of Michael Johnson, it was clear to me that he was surrounded after the bridge was secured, traffic was stopped. My question is, why was he surrounded? I know you don't particularly have details, but is that part of your de-escalation protocol to surround an individual in that way? It appeared that he was being surrounded in a coordinated and trained manner. And if that is part of your de-escalation protocol, doesn't that seem counterintuitive in that it might make someone, especially someone in a mental health crisis, more likely to have a negative reaction, such as the one that resulted in the shooting?
Yeah, I'm not going to speak to the tactics or the response because, again, it's an ongoing investigation. So I would be, I'd be speaking to things that I don't know the answers to because I don't have that information, which is unfair. And two, that would not be de-escalation training. That would be more in a tactical response and how they were handling a suspect who was non-compliant with requests. De-escalation training happens in many different ways at the Reno Police Department. It's not just one class and then you're done. And most of our training that we provide, de-escalation is a component to it. And so we have ongoing de-escalation training that we do participate in. My line's getting a little shorter, which gives me a little less anxiety. I don't feel like I have to rush you guys. I don't want to rush everybody. Don't try to give me anxiety.
I'll be quick. First, I just want to say thank you for coming out. I agree. I think these town halls are very important and give us a chance to actually talk to you. And I think my question has already been asked, and I would just like to reiterate that to say we're concerned about the killing of MJ is a gross mischaracterization. Thank you.
Nope, I agree, and I think each one of these incidents needs to be taken very seriously and investigated thoroughly. And I'm going to tell you right now, I can't tell you to trust my response or to trust me. That doesn't work. All I can do is continue to be transparent, answer your questions, and provide all the information that I can, and continue to work with the Reno Police Department, which has always been my commitment to everybody. So I hope that we can continue to bridge gaps and build relationships, but that's what I hope. So thank you for your questions. I appreciate them, and I think it makes us all better as we move forward.
Yeah, so I think my question's been kind of asked as well. I did want to echo something that was said, that this seems like either a failure of policy or the execution of it. I did have one thing to just respond to what you just said. You referred to MJ as a suspect, and within this scenario for a wellness check, is it typical to refer to someone as a suspect and to view them that way?
At some point in time during the scenario when we have violations of the law, whatever they are, that is generally how they're referred to. There's a lot of other ways it can be referred to. Don't want to take the term suspect away from truly a person. I know that's a very clinical term. I get how that can be heard on the other side. So it's not to try and dehumanize or really that from being a true person. So I am sorry if that's the way that came across.
And then just one quick follow-up and kind of asking about the protocols in place. I did watch the footage today, and it was horrible. I did note that before any real signs of violence, guns were drawn. Is that part of the de-escalation policy?
That would again not be a de-escalation policy. An officer would draw their weapon when they felt concern for their safety or a fear that the person was armed. So again, I can't speak to the specifics of that. I'm giving you a general answer as to when an officer would or should draw their weapon, which is again in our policies.
It seemed like weapons were drawn when they were corralling MJ.
Again, not going to speak about specifics of the investigation.
I have nothing else.
Thank you.
Hi. I had just to follow up on that question. What is the standard kit, I guess, for officers, as to guns that shoot bullets versus tasers and stuff? And what is the policy for what gets used? I assume that officers don't just have one weapon on them, that they have multiple.
They also we do deploy tasers. We deploy less than lethal firearms. There's other options there, yes.
So, yeah, rubber bullets. So
that's a less than lethal firearm.
So are there guidelines across the department for this is a situation where you would only draw your taser, things like that, or is it
there
just
is guidelines
officers?
For when tasers can be used and when less than lethal weapons can be used.
Okay, but not
they're
the same,
trained on all of them.
Not the same guidelines for when a gun can be used. I just want to be clear.
I think I understand your question. Can I maybe paraphrase it back?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the use of force policy, which is available on the Reno policies, if you want to look at it, they're all online, does dictate when different types of weapons can be used. Officers do have tasers. At times, they can draw their taser, they can draw their firearm, and it really depends on the state of mind of the officer and the situation that they're in. Again, I'm not going to speak as specifics to this one yet, but the policy for that is online.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And on the budget stuff, I understand that you are not the person who sets the police budget. Do you recommend a budget every year to the city council? Make recommendations for continuing the same budget or changing it?
Yes, we have an impact on our budget specific. So we do budget workshops with council, provide them information on what we use currently, what the cost is to maintain that level of service, and any additional needs that we have.
Got it. So I just wanted to make sure that you actually did recommend before I asked. Under what circumstances, wildest imagination, would you recommend a reduction in the police budget?
I think the biggest goal is not to have a reduction in services. We don't want to reduce our services, so what we're providing. But different items and areas in the police budget have been reduced But again, you're looking at the budget overall, so it just
Yeah.
depends on what areas they come and go. I would encourage anybody that's interested to look at the City of Reno's budget process. I think it starts next month with budget hearings. Actively look at that and be involved and see where money in the city is going, because it is very important. There's
Totally.
a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking, like, I know the city is strapped for money. I mean, we all know that. So, like, what would need to happen in Reno, in the world, for you to say, hey, actually, I think that we should reduce our budget because...
Last year, we did freeze 6 positions, which was a reduction of our budget because of the financial issues that the city was having at the time.
Okay.
And then the different things get reduced. It just depends on, I can't give you an example off the top of my head because I'm not thinking that way, but some things maybe we don't utilize anymore. We'll take that out of our budget. Maybe there's other things that we need more, so we'll change and move that budget around.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question that I need to contextualize with some comments. And
You work that microphone much better than everybody else in this room. You're much more solid.
thank
with the
you very
microphone
much.
usage.
I appreciate
I feel
that.
like
I
you-
made sure it was at the right height and everything.
You did good. You're impressive.
And you've given a lot of answers that have been kind of long and not really answered the questions asked. So I would appreciate if you reciprocated the patience we have all shown you. I would like to start with a comment about the logistical organization of this event. I find it odd this event is being held in the North Valleys in the early evening. Everyone knows that some of the worst traffic in the city of Reno is getting to the North Valleys at this time of day, and it's exacerbated by the current road construction. I wasn't born yesterday. I know that when the city of Reno makes events inconvenient, and they seem to do it for every meeting and every town hall, it is intentional because they're doing it all the time. Next, I'd like to point out how much of your presentation was meaningless information. I don't think any of us really care about how many employees you have or what precise percentage of your calls are for what crime. And I think if you didn't spend as much time fluffing up your PowerPoint with drivel, you might have more time to process the body cam footage that you said would be released, and I quote, eventually. I am demanding the release of body camera footage and the names and badge numbers of all involved officers, and I don't really care about the state law that says you have to redact things. And for the record, you don't really care about the law either. Your department broke the law when they lynched Michael Johnson Jr. I am also demanding that the city attorney prosecute the officer who murdered Michael Johnson Jr. I am demanding that the city take away the weapons that its police apparently treat as toys. And finally, I am demanding your resignation for the time you knowingly wasted with your platitudes and nonsense tonight. So we are finally at my question. When are you resigning?
I'm not, but thank you for your question.
That answer disappoints me.
I'm sorry. If anybody in the room, just because I want to just make a point here, I appreciate all of your questions and I will take them all repeatedly, which is fine. But I want to ensure that there is some equity in this space. If somebody has a question not related the same, I would like to ask it, please let us know. We'll continue with all your questions. I have no concerns with that. But I do want to make sure that if somebody has some time constraints or they want a question asked that's outside of this scope. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm going to finish talking. If somebody has a question outside of that scope that they want answered, I want to ensure that
How do you know how do you know what I'm here for?
I want to ensure you could be that person. I appreciate you. I want to make sure that we do give equal opportunity to anybody that might have another question that's not being answered. So just raise your hand over here and get some attention, and then we can answer that question over there also. I just want to give fair opportunity to everybody in the room. We'll continue. Go ahead.
Can you answer my question?
Do you have a
since
question?
You already know
If
my
you,
question.
can you give me
ma'am?
1 second? And what I'll do is I'll have somebody come to you in just 1 second. Okay, thank you. And then you can go next. Ma'am, go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I came here because ICE is going to be coming, and we all know that. My question was going to be how far you're going to let your officers go. But from your answers, from what happened the other night, we already know. They are not trained. You don't care. They are hot-tempered, and you don't care. you tell us that you care about rules. That you started out saying that, right? Are you going to care about rules when people are ripped out of their cars and locked up without even looking at ID? So did you know my question, ma'am?
Is your question about how we're going to respond to ICE?
Yes.
Yeah. So how we respond to ICE is a federal agency, and immigration is a federal agency. So we
So
do
you're
not.
going to help them. You already said you're going to help them. You did. You said that if they need help, you are going to help them. So right now, you are responsible for whatever happens. You are.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, can somebody help her? She has a question over here. I'd just like to get.
I have an unrelated question to everything that everyone else has
You
been
can ask
talking
me. Go
about. And
ahead.
I've been waiting in line for 20 minutes.
I
So
understand.
please let me ask my question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so everyone knows that the Epstein files have been released. And I think it's really important to realize that these circles of abuse of people in power is not limited to the federal government. Your agency has a persistent record of sexual abuse and sexual misconduct. There is, let's talk about Tyler Bear, who went through people's phones during routine traffic stops to find nudes of women. I wonder if that makes you feel safe as his coworker. And then let's talk about Officer Seafray, who is currently being sued for $300,000 by two people that you work with because he was doing sexual misconduct. And then I've heard stories about someone who stole an identity, as an officer, stole an identity of someone that was dead, rented a apartment under that stolen identity, and then filmed child pornography out of that place. So how do you guarantee that you guys aren't being like the Epstein people and hiding the fact that you are concealing child trafficking and sex trafficking? Like, if Officer Seafray is sexually harassing his coworkers, what do you think is happening to the people that he is dealing with that don't have the access to authority that they do? Because he has also been accused of racial profiling, sexual misconduct, fraud on his time card, and generally has been labeled, quote, in the claim, as a problematic behavior officer. And his internal affairs investigation was delayed by Chief Soto so that he could get disability retirement, which is greater than your retirement will be. So there just seems to be like a persistent issue throughout the government and throughout agencies that have power, that they cover up sexual misconduct, specifically of men, but also of women. And how do I know that your office isn't doing that? Because you have a like literal visible pattern. I spent like an hour this afternoon looking at it, and I found stuff. Imagine what I had done if I was like some QAnon 4chan person that spent years doing this shit. Like, you guys have a fucking problem.
Okay, we're not going to use.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
That's protected by the First Amendment.
We are going to keep this in a proper form of decorum, please.
Okay, so how are you going to stop raping
Sir?
children and making child pornography?
Sir?
Uh-huh.
Please stop screaming. and
I'm
let's have a-
sorry. Like, I'm sure everyone else here has read the Epstein files. It's like kind of an emotionally elevated state that I'm in.
I absolutely
And I
understand that.
see the parallels in our police department and our administrative bodies in this city. I'm sorry if I'm emotionally elevated.
I
This shit
completely
hits
understand why.
close to home. And I'm sorry if my language isn't as professional as you. Like, I'm sorry. But like, why is there no third-party investigation that is not related to the police that is investigating, why are you guys going, here's my question. What is stopping you from going through the hard drives of all police officers with a third-party investigation to make sure that they don't also have child pornography on their computers and are disseminating it?
Okay, thank you. I can answer that.
You can answer why you're not doing that?
I can answer your question if you'd like. But so just to go back a little bit about what you said, Officer Bear was criminally charged. The instant we found out that he had misconduct, he was removed from duty.
That's not true. He had 2 instances of misconduct and he wasn't charged until the second one.
Can I finish? As soon as we had information that he had misconduct, he was removed from duty. He was charged criminally. Officer Seafried was fired. He was terminated.
with a pension and with
I'm
his
sure
disability.
he did. But again, these are issues that.
Being paid by the city to be a.
Well, okay, next question, because I can't answer your question if you yell at me during the answer of it. Can we ask a question over
Are you
here?
like even concerned about this issue? Like,
I
do you
can't-
not see what's happening in our federal government?
I can't answer.
Are you Miss Bondi?
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, ma'am. You're fine. Hi. Absolutely.
Do you want a mic?
I can hear her. Yes. The officer that was involved in that was treated at the hospital for very minor injuries. He was shot in his vest, and so luckily he was shot in his vest, and he is doing well, and he will return to life. He was okay. I'm not. If the next person at the microphone wants to ask that question, I'll answer it. But we're not going to scream and yell. We talked about this. I will answer your question, but we're not going to scream and yell. He was shot by one of our officers during the incident. We are looking to see how that happened. We don't know yet, but we're evaluating the body camera to determine that, and I'm sure that information will be released later. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It's your turn next if you're ready.
I mean, I had
Thank you for
other
being here. I appreciate you.
well-gathered questions before someone who was just standing there was able to interrupt.
I understand.
Well, if you understand, then why did that happen? How
Is that your
what-
question for me?
No, I mean, apparently I can just sit in the audience and ask whatever question I want.
If you'd like to
whenever
raise your
anyone
hand and
else-
sit in the audience, you will be
Well,
called
no,
on
I mean,
also.
I came here to ask you another question, but now at this point, I'm confused about who the First Amendment applies to. I'm confused about whether or not you are aware of AB 236. I'm confused about whether or not you've celebrated Black History Month in any other way other than killing a black man. I'm confused about, my son right now is, just as a mother, because I wanted to ask you about the community health worker thing, and I know we are having questions offline with the city manager, and we'll do that at another time, because now it's just not, it's out the window as far as us having a productive conversation. So I'm going to just sit here and talk to you as a mother, not as a lobbyist or a policy person. I live in the Diamonds Casino Zone. I saw you produce a map of that at the neighborhood advisory meeting for Ward 4. I'm sorry, I'm so dysregulated by the fact that my speech was not prioritized over someone else when I waited in line. It just seems so egregious to me. I guess my question as a mother, because my son's about the same height as Michael Ray Johnson Jr., and we live in that neighborhood. And oftentimes he is working late. He's a musician. And today I had a lot of, I found myself not well, you know what I mean, in a way that I wasn't aware of until my other friends asked if I was okay. And when I picked my child up from his school in Truckee, and I'm going to take as much time as I want at this point, and drove him down into our neighborhood, I couldn't help but feel as a mother that I was being negligent by bringing him to an area that was unsafe, that was less safe than it was in January. Sometimes, children without their frontal lobes developed. I know one time he told me because he goes to Holland Project often, my child doesn't play a dangerous sport. He's not involved in drugs. He's not involved in gang activity. There's no other threat to my child's life other than your department. And so I guess what I'm asking you right now, as he is currently playing music less than a mile away from the incident, how can you ensure me that my child will return safe tonight, but also that he'll be able to become a man? What are you doing to make sure that our children get to become adults?
I understand you, and I hear you, and I hear your concern. I hear your love for your child in your voice, and I understand your fear, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that's real in your life.
And you know that apologies come with action. Sorries are words, but however, I'm truly concerned right now that I dropped my child off in an area that's unsafe, and I came here to ask you this question, knowing that he's less safe without me. And I'm very constricted in, I do a lot of research and a lot of trying to really split the middle here and listen to people. I am a balanced person. I really do want a functioning community.
I agree
And
with
I
you.
live in this community by choice. And I know you know where I live because oftentimes
I actually
officers
don't know where you
speed
live.
638 Elko Avenue. You speed by it about 3 times a day, depending on the situation. I saw you this week. I see you often. I see many of you. I also, and I know you're not here to talk about this shooting. I've completed the Sparks Police Advisory Academy. I know all of your lobbyists at the legislature, statewide. I really do my due diligence to hear you out. I noticed that he was called brother many times and friend. Is that part of your cultural competency training?
I wouldn't say no. I think that the officers talk to people in many different ways.
I haven't heard any white person be referred to as brother or friend before being shot 6 times or in any interaction. And I would like to offer that perhaps you have a cultural competency, and I would be happy to give that.
We've done a lot of cultural competency.
Well, calling
and work
someone
on-
brother before is racist in that situation. And so I'll get to my last question, since you can't ensure me that I won't return to a body bag when I leave here tonight. My question is, how many black officers do you have in your department?
I would have to look that up.
It's 1.5%.
I don't
so
know that
it says 1.5%. And also, I'm sorry, my other question, it's from your website.
Where does it say it out on the
your
website?
2023 impact report, and you haven't released one since 2023?
So I think I would have to look at what that number is in 2025.
Okay.
'cause
Do you
we've done a
plan
lot-
on releasing a 2025 impact report?
An impact report? I'm not sure I know what
You released a impact report in 2023, 2022, 21, and 20, but not in 2024 or 25. Do you plan on continuing that practice?
2025. Do you mean the annual report or the
It was
IA
called
report?
an impact report on your website.
I'm going to have to look and see what exactly you mean by that. We do release an annual report. We did have one in 2024. I'll have to check the website to see if it's there. But in 2025, we will release both an annual report and an IA report that shows some of those demographics. And I just don't have them right off the top of my
Would
head.
you be willing to have a discussion unarmed with the Black community about these indiscretions?
Well, I don't think that we generally, as police officers, go very many places unarmed, but having open dialogue is always an option. Can I get back to you on the exact numbers of the demographics of the police department, though?
Sure.
I can
Yeah, it
send
was
that over to you.
1.5%. I just don't know how there's 0.5 of a person.
I understand that,
Yeah.
your question, but I would have to get the exact numbers and then get that back to you for 2025.
Can I ask one
just
more
don't have-
question since I was interrupted? I'm going to anyway.
Well, you
would
weren't
you
interrupted,
would
but
you be
yes.
willing? I was absolutely interrupted. I waited in line for 20 minutes. Are you open to the idea of a community health worker, a community mental health response devoid of policing to show up to incidents within my neighborhood as a pilot project?
I do. I'm very supportive of the response by community health workers or health workers in different situations. I have no opposition to that whatsoever.
Okay, I look forward to talking to you about that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And again, the offer still stands. I'm sorry, hold on real quick. I apologize. That if somebody has an off-topic conversation that they have a question about, we will take those, but I will continue to go down the line and talk to everybody here. So it wasn't to interrupt you specifically. I just want to ensure that there's we're equitable in our question answering over here if anybody does have one. So I will continue to offer that as a resource. I understand you can be very upset about it. I'm going to continue to do it that way. I understand that. This is the rules that we're setting up in here. He's next in the line. Go ahead. Well, he's next in line. If you want to go next, hold on a second. I just said if somebody wants to go after him, raise your hand. If you want to go after him, that's fine. I don't care, but let him go first. I already told him I interrupted him.
I'll yield my time.
Go ahead. No, well, either one of you can go first. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, since laws don't matter, since rules don't matter, yeah, I guess we'll do this, right? It seems like you're very intentionally avoiding the conversation when you don't like what you think you're about to hear. And that is not transparent, and it is not honest. And like that's all something that we're witnessing here right now. Like my initial question was very honest with you, but seeing how you facilitated this conversation is very disappointing. And it does not show a genuine interaction with the community. It's I want to interact with specific community members and not the ones who are trying to bring up these issues that you swear you want to hear.
Is that the question?
No, that's
okay.
how I'm gonna start.
I'll
Because I think
answer.
you should check yourself.
Okay.
Like that's something that we are all bringing up right now is that this department needs to check itself. And what I'm asking here is I'm an educator and I work with students, and we know through research that having spaces that are safe for children to go to reduces chances of gang activity, of sex trafficking, of dropping out of school,
Absolutely.
of getting murdered by the police because apparently you can't lay down and rest, because many people that I've talked to personally have been kicked out of the park for reading a book because they look houseless. So that is something that we concretely already know. And so my question to you, because we've talked about your support for community health workers and for all of these mental health initiatives, do you agree with reducing your budget to go to those efforts?
Again, I have no control over my budget.
I didn't ask about your control. I asked, would you support this if it went to those initiatives that we're all agreeing on?
I support community health workers. I support them coming out and responding to people in mental health crisis. I 100% support that idea.
That's not my question,
I
though.
understand your question,
Would you
but you're
support-
asking me a hypothetical I can't answer.
You can
I'm gonna
answer
it
the
again.
hypothetical.
I
I'm
can-
asking you if you
I
would
am not.
agree to taking the money that you guys have. If you guys look at these statistics too, it is the most amount of money spent on any other position. Me as a teacher who work with children who go through these things, who experience trauma within their families, generations and generations of trauma because of the practices that, oh, it's just a mistake, shit, we're concerned about this. I work with those children. And so you just not being able to answer the question of, I can't answer this hypothetical of some of that money that you guys have ownership of, that you lobby for yourself to have more and more every year. By 2023, the city's also looks like we're running out of money, y'all. Right? And so you don't agree with some of that money, some of those resources going into something as simple as community on the ground? And for my people who are seeing people who are dealing with mental health crises, don't feel unsafe. Get out of the car and check on that person. Call your friend. Call your neighbor. Call your family member. Call anyone. And the last thing I'll say, because you'd avoided this other question, is that you do work with ICE. You are their landlords. You sell out places where our relatives are being detained. And that is something we know for a fact, and that is collaboration. And anybody thinking that that is okay, who cares about our relatives who are being detained, you are not in a reality. You are not in my same reality. And what we're trying to bring up here is that those of us who've experienced this trauma generations after generations that you keep saying to, is not being met with action. So we can say sorry, we can say we're very concerned, but that action looks like giving those resources to community efforts that are on the ground that do not involve guns. We've done this for generations. We are on Native land. Native people have been doing this conflict mediation, dangerous situations for years. And that is not impossible, and that is a question that you can answer.
I really appreciate the work that you do with children and in the mental health space, and I do think we need more people doing that. So thank you for that contribution to our community. It is greatly appreciated.
So, I was going to ask a different question that was related to the citizen complaints against officers, and I still would like to know about that, where the transparency is there, how those complaints are substantiated, and also who investigates them, as well as what happens when those complaints are substantiated. But I actually want to ask another question now, and it is, and this is a question for all the RPD people in the room, when you leave here, this town hall, because this is a town hall to get, as police officers, as Reno police, you serve the citizens of Reno, and that includes all of the things that we're saying is because we want things to be better, is because something horrible happened that we know did not have to happen, and we want things to get better. And I would hope that all of you do too. So my question is, what will you all do, everyone who is present here and part of the RPD, what will you do to address these complaints when you get back to the station? When you go on your next shift, what is that conversation going to look like? How is there going to be actionable steps taken? And how will you communicate those steps to us? How? And actionable, and those are specifically addressing these things. It's not wording, it's not statements. It is, yes, we also agree on a lot of these things. This is what we're gonna do about it. What does that conversation look like? And when and how are we going to get that communication?
So how we get that communication back to you, I'm not 100% sure on that. I think that there's some options. If anybody wants to leave their name, number, and we want to talk about it, and you want outreach later, I'm more than willing to reach back out to you and tell you the things that we've done. What I am going to say is that I think every single incident requires us to do a very deep evaluation of it and look and see if our policies match what we should be doing. And I understand that the responses that I'm giving aren't exactly what you want to hear, and I appreciate that. But again, there's things that I can't talk about in that incident. I also understand this need for additional mental health and additional mental health resources, and I want to participate in that also.
But we don't want the police to participate in that.
I understand that.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that.
No, I understand what you want. I do. I 100% understand what you want. And I do think there is path forwards from that, but I do think that there is ways that we have to evaluate how that happens. And there is definitely options out there. I'm not opposed to community mental health workers. I am not opposed to that at all. I think we need more community mental health workers in our environment to prevent people from getting into a crisis state where they're acting out in a way that makes it scary or violent against other people. Those are things that happen daily, not just to the police, but other people in our community. We need to protect everybody from each other, and that's where mental health workers are very important. Did you want me to answer your IA question or not?
So yes,
I'm sorry.
But I again, and I don't feel that my question's been answered, because the things that we're saying in here is not you checking your policy to see if you guys did everything correctly. It is the things that we're saying. How are those directly influencing those policies? How are those policies changing?
Absolutely.
And what are those things that you are doing to change those things so that something like this never happens again?
I think that a big part of that is that increase of the community health workers and people that are advocating in our community and getting people help they need before it turns into crisis. So those are things we are definitely working on. More than willing as a city to work with different members of our community on engaging with those programs and helping those out. I'm more than happy to reach out to you if policies change, if you want that information about what we're doing with these incidents. I'm more than happy to tell them to you. I can't tell you specifically right now what I'm going to do to change based on your desires, but we hear you and we understand what this community wants. And we're looking at ways to do that. And you can believe it or not believe it, but we're an ever-evolving organization that's continuously changing our policies to better serve our community.
Well, you're also still killing black men in the street.
I understand your concern, sir. James, hello. I wasn't expecting to see you here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Welcome.
Well, hey, listen, it's the same thing over again. So push me out to the
Can you put the microphone? I just want to make sure everybody can you help him fix the microphone, Hunter? It looks like it's broken. Is that
cool things? Yeah. So when I saw you, I felt cool and I felt assured and everything. Nothing happened. It's the same thing. You guys keep on fluffing me up and telling me something's going to happen. If I was the chief of police and somebody came to me and said that they were sexually assaulted and a detective hit and ran their car, I would have, it would have been, words cannot express how quick I would have had something done, and I would have been at your house that same day, then you know what's going on. Everything would have been laid out. You got officers that are physically setting me up, physically setting me up to get hurt. They're tearing, like, my employment's messed up. No, like, my bank accounts are altered.
Right.
Like, no. I mean, come on. Let's do something about this, please.
James, right?
Yes.
Okay, James. I feel like when we talked before, we referred you. I don't want
Yes, but
to. I don't mind talking publicly, but I don't want to talk publicly about your situation because I think it's personal to you. So, can I have somebody talk to you? 'Cause I know that your complaint went over to Internal Affairs, and so I'm uncomfortable talking about your personal situation in front of a group of people unless you want me to, because I feel like it's your personal situation and that makes me uncomfortable. So can I have an officer talk to you about that real quick?
No, hey, let him hear. I'm at the point.
Okay.
I'm so,
I just feel uncomfortable. I don't want to air any of your stuff.
Yeah, no,
Well,
let them hear this, man. For
I know,
the past,
but there's personal things that are happening, so I
Yeah,
just want to
hey,
be cautious.
Yeah, for the
Okay,
past
don't
4
scream.
years,
Don't scream. Don't
these
scream.
detectives, hey,
Don't scream.
these detectives have been, they have attacked
I know.
me with the whole building I live in, with these detectives. They're actual detectives. They set you up with everybody online you talk to as a detective. They set you up in entrapment. They do all kinds of stuff. They mess up your employment. You go to work and you think everything's okay. Everybody's acting funny because the detectives have, they're doing mean stuff. They're not bettering the public. If I'm doing something wrong or anything like that, tell me I'm doing something wrong. Give me some assistance. Don't do mean stuff. I'm isolated. Nobody talks to me no more. I tell people what's going on. My own family has double crossed. Nobody talks to me. They think I'm crazy. This stuff is unreal. The things that they do. That's how crazy it is, you guys. You guys gotta see the stuff I have. I have surveillance, man, of the stuff that they hit and run on my car on a public street, and nobody's came out and investigated.
James,
Yes, ma'am.
I think the information you provided is definitely an internal affairs, and we're definitely looking into it.
Doing nothing, and I'm still getting attacked.
I know it's just been a few days since we talked last.
Yeah.
So
I
if
just
possible,
got attacked about 2 hours ago.
okay. Well, I don't know about that one yet. If possible, can I have you talk to Captain Larson real quick and make sure that you have the contact for internal affairs and that we're following up with you? Because I don't want the things that you told me to go unnoticed. There is an investigation.
Reno ain't doing nothing. Okay.
I want to talk to you more about that though, because I understand I understand the trauma that you've had and the things that are going on with you, and I want to continue that conversation. And I'm sorry if. Okay, I want to talk more about that with you. Okay, I'm sorry, James. Just talk to Captain Larson, and I'll be in contact with you also. Okay. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. I just don't feel comfortable talking about some things that people said privately to me in public. It's one of my things. I'm sorry. Not that I want to thwart his questions or conversations or anything that he had to say. I just want to make sure that he receives the assistance he needs from the department. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Hi. So the person before last who asked what you guys would be doing to actually address a lot of these concerns involved the continual murder of Black people, particularly the murder of people enduring mental health crises, which it sounds like your first response is inherently armed and conflict-ridden. You said that that you would be in support of community health workers, that you would be in support of like more community centers, like more city centers, so that people had places to go. You've acknowledged during this thing that like that would be a good way to address all of these issues.
Yes.
So for the upcoming fiscal year, in your budget recommendation, because you said that you don't have any control over your budget to city council, but you also acknowledge that you do engage in the budget like discussions, right? And you do provide a suggestion to the city council, which I would imagine they are quite like, you know, susceptible to, especially considering that Devin Reese is the lawyer of the police union, but he's also in city council, so it seems like they would quite listen to you, right? So my question is, for the upcoming fiscal year, will you be suggesting a decrease in your insanely large budget to actually fund things at work? Thank you.
No, we will not be asking for a decrease, but we do every year ask for additional resources from different places, including more mental health workers and more opportunity to partner with different community partnerships.
Okay, so we like we are expected to be out of money by 2030. So, but you want more staff, even though it has a given record that when you show up to scenes of people experiencing distress, it actually just like escalates the situation and makes it worse. And that you've like acknowledged that most officers are actually helpful, more so than showing up 7 armed cops that can't just talk one man down without shooting him 6 times. So yeah, I don't know, like it just seems like you've acknowledged that there are better solutions, but you just said that you will be asking for an increased budget, even though you've just acknowledged that it doesn't really seem to be helping.
Actually not what I said, but what I said is that I'll continue to work on our budget with the council.
You've said you're sorry many times. I just want you to know that we all know you're lying, so you can save your breath.
Well, I haven't accused anybody else in this room of lying, so that's very unfair of you to try and tell me what I feel.
You have Michael
So,
Johnson
you're allowed
Jr.'s
to have your own opinions, but to accuse me of lying because I have empathy for people is fairly Okay, you are not going to. Okay, Okay, we're done. We're done. You are not going to yell at people who are here getting the same. Goodbye. Thank you. He can leave. Thank you. He can leave. Thank you. We will not tolerate disruptions like that. Captain Clark, can you go speak to the woman who left also? Captain Clark, could you please go engage with the woman that felt she needed to leave? I just want to make sure she didn't have anything she also needed. I explained in the beginning we weren't going to tolerate outbursts and screaming. It's not proper. It's just really not. It doesn't help for any of this conversation. I understand you're angry. I 100% understand you're angry and you're frustrated. I get it. And we'll continue to have the conversations, but if this disruption happens, I can't have people feeling that way. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. And accusing me of lying isn't really fair. I didn't accuse any of your emotions or feelings of lying. So we all have our own emotions and feelings. Let's
Are you going to
support
let me
each other.
finish? Are you going to let me finish?
You told the truth. Yes, I understand that. That two people telling different things doesn't make it not the truth. I'm not going to have an argument with you. You don't have to believe me. It's okay. I'm sorry for the interruption to you. Please continue if you're ready.
I am
Thank
going
you.
to start again from the beginning because of your interruption.
I would appreciate that because I'm sorry I did forget what you asked in the beginning.
You've said you're sorry many times. I just want you to know that we all know you're lying, so you can save your breath. You have Michael Johnson Jr.'s blood on your hands. I know you're not sorry because you're standing up there right now. If you were sorry, you'd resign.
Hi, council member. I'm sorry that microphone's giving a little bit of problems
I'm
with the way
a
it
little
is.
short. I just wanted to say I'm Councilwoman Ebert. I represent Ward 4, the North Valleys out here. I'm on the board that makes the decisions about the budget. I just want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight, and please reach out to me if you want to talk with me about anything. I also recommend that you reach out to my fellow council members regarding any concerns you have about budgets. I want to thank our officers for coming out tonight. I also want to just let people know that this was an event that was pre-planned to give updates as a town hall. These unfortunate events were not foreseen. I just want to remember that we're all part of this community, and as much as I want to support everyone, that includes the people that got up and left, the people that live here that came for an update. I want to be supportive of everybody's concerns for their neighborhood and their communities, and I just want to make myself available for anybody and hope that we can get people connected with the right resources to make changes where we need it. And I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. So that includes our law enforcement and our commenters and people with questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, council member, for being here. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for replacing that mic stand. I appreciate it. It was disruptive.
Sorry, are we limited to one question? Or can I
You can ask a couple.
Okay, my first question is in relation to the response of most. Did I understand correctly that part of the policy to ensure that things are safe enough for most to respond is that the person has to be subjected to a physical search of their person? Did I catch that from you correctly?
Not always. It depends on the circumstance. But if we have reason to believe the person might be armed, we would search them to make sure that they're not potentially have a weapon that could harm a most worker. It doesn't always happen that way. It's not necessarily a requirement. But if we have reason to believe that the person is armed, we would want to make sure that the most worker is safe when they're dealing with that person as best we can.
And does your policy outline how an officer would make that determination, or is it just discretionary per the officer?
I'm going to say it's not all, people aren't always searched, but if we have reason to believe or suspect that they might have a weapon on them, we would search them. So there's policies on searching, there's policies on, and training on searching, so it just depends. It would have to be, some of the stuff is subjective, and I understand that.
Okay, and then my other question is, someone called to your attention that you've referred to Michael Johnson Jr. several times tonight as a suspect. When you're coming to us and telling us that you want accountability, that you want to be transparent, that you want to know the truth, and you, I think, are trying to get the community to believe that that is the case, can you agree that referring to him as a suspect is perhaps not the best choice of words and stop referring to him that way in the future?
I understand the concern with that statement. I think that, and I appreciate it. I understand what you're saying. I absolutely appreciate why that came across that way and why that makes people feel different. It's not an intent to dehumanize somebody.
It's a legal term, correct?
It's
though?
more of a legal term than it is anything else. It was not an attempt to.
So by using
dehumanize.
that legal term, you are already communicating through nuance that you believe he meets that classification, that legal classification. Do you
Yes.
understand that it comes across that way?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think moving forward you could stop doing that, specifically in this circumstance, and just call him by his name so that the community can start to see that perhaps you are trying to actually get to the bottom of what happened?
I understand your question. Thank you.
Can you do that or not?
Maybe not. I'm going to try. I mean, asking changes that are vernacular and changes. I understand what your concern is, and I do understand how it comes across, and that was not my intent. But yes, making an effort to change that way that I speak, it's definitely something that's an easy request for you to make and something that I can try to do. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm never going to do it again, because that would be disingenuous.
I think everyone would appreciate an effort.
I understand.
At least. And then my last question is, you redacted out the officer's image. I know that that's pursuant on the body cam of Michael Johnson
Okay, thank you. I'm
Jr.
sorry.
I
didn't-
apologize.
I'm sorry.
I know that's pursuant to Nevada laws regarding government personnel records. There are also Nevada statutes regarding the identities of individuals within government records. Is that correct?
Yes.
Including their likeness. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a reason you didn't redact Michael Johnson Jr.'s face from the video?
It didn't fit the requirements of the law.
He wasn't being arrested for a crime, correct? It was a
It
welfare
doesn't.
check.
It doesn't meet the requirements of the law, which is why his face wasn't redacted. And again, the law is the law. So I am very supportive
I'm
if
familiar with them.
people
Thank you.
want to move forward and try and change legislature to make those differences. I think that that is definitely a route that should be taken.
Hi there. I live in the North Valley, so I have a bit of a just different question than most people here. Do you have any plan to partner with Washoe County with the drones to look at illegal dumping in the area?
Yeah, so we do work with Washoe County. We have a different drone system than they use. It is one thing that we can utilize it for illegal dumping. Again, if you see that or you have that in your neighborhood, if you live within the city limits, report it through Reno Director if you see it in the city limits so that we can handle it. We also do use some of the camera systems to try and identify vehicles that are responsible for that. It's kind of a hard a crime because a lot of times they do it at night. We don't have information about who the people are. But there is definitely ways that can be solved. But if it doesn't get reported, we have a very hard time investigating it. So I would encourage you to report it.
Sure. I just meant what you said your response times can be like 30 seconds or 60 with the drone. I didn't know if that meant in those locations as well. If we see someone dumping at the time.
It would depend on where the locations are. And so for me, it's going to depend on where the drone responds, but it is something that could happen and to evaluate it. The drones do have about a 2-mile response. And so we I'm sorry, I screwed this up. I don't know what I did. I hit the button. I apologize. I know you're looking at me like I did something wrong. But we can use that for that, and it is one of the priorities. So utilizing different things. We do need a time check, because I know we do have a... Oh. Okay. Well, we actually aren't because we've rented the facility, so we have a time limit that we have to close out at. So I can take one more question, but if we're 30 minutes over, we can't. I understand your question.
Okay, I have the mic. Everybody, can you just stop hollering? It's just the most disrespectful thing I've ever been to, this type of event. My gosh.
Please go ahead with your question if you have another one.
That was all. I'm just saying this is like so incredibly disrespectful.
I would agree with you. We have one more question, and I'm sorry I went over. I did not have a watch on to keep track of time. Hunter.
So my question is kind of 2 parts. So this is just a town hall meeting. I'm noticing every officer in here has a gun. Why do you guys have a gun at a meeting?
A standard police response in our uniform manual and our policies and procedures is to be armed when you're in uniform.
What is the...
So if somebody chose to come here in a uniform without a gun, they would be in violation of our policy.
Okay. What's the is there like a procedure or a threshold for when you guys draw your weapon and fire?
Yes, there's several different policies that incorporate that.
Okay, I'm a big guy. A lot of people sometimes see me as a threat just because I'm huge. At what point do I become enough of a threat? I carry a small utility blade just for daily needs, cutting open packages and whatnot. Does that make me a threat?
You're asking a question that I understand, but I can't definitively say at what point you become a threat to a specific officer. I won't be
Okay.
able to answer that question.
Okay. So what's the what is the requirement then for you guys to pull your weapon on somebody?
When an officer feels threatened, when they feel that a
Okay.
person is going to injure or harm them or another
When they get a little
person,
scared?
and there's different ways that are in the policy.
What defines threatened?
Well, again, those are things that are in the policy.
Up to the officer, maybe?
It is up to the
Get a little
officer.
scared?
It's perception and a lot of different things. I can't answer your hypothetical about this right now. Thank you. So
We see what you're saying, yeah.
again, I appreciate everybody being here. We are over on time, which means we do have to stop this. We do have a hard stop 30 minutes ago. So thank you for coming. You can, I'm sorry. I'll take one more question, then we need to stop. I really have to draw the line somewhere, regardless of what the question's about, but we are going to have to stop. And I know you guys have not answered questions yet, and I think everybody else behind you in line has.
Thank you, Chief Nance. Appreciate your time. So we had a situation that happened about 2 weeks ago. You're here talking tonight when people are cussing about professional and courtesy and stuff. My question to you, why don't those officers give us the same respect? All right? So the reason why I bring that up is we had a false 911 call to our house where somebody lied and said guns and drugs were at our house. Your officers showed up with guns drawn before even doing any investigation. We have it on our camera. They tried kicking down our door and screaming. When our underage kid opened the door, your officers called him a fucking idiot. As he was trying to de-escalate the situation, more officers were escalating the situation. He was trying to be calm, and he said, "I don't answer questions." The officer looked at him and he said, "That is the stupidest fucking shit I've ever heard." So my question is, he was trying to handle the situation as an adult, where multiple officers weren't trying to handle it as an adult. And as he turned around to try to de-escalate the situation, that officer that called him a fucking idiot grabbed him and fucking tried to arrest him for an RPO, resisting a police officer. Are you kidding me? He's 17 years old. He's trying to listen to multiple officers, give multiple directions. He has two officers cussing at him. And as he's doing this, your officers entered our house without a search warrant.
So
they entered multiple rooms, kicking doors, knocking down doors, and everything else. So as your use of force here says, officers must use only the force that is reasonably prudent would be deemed necessary under this circumstance. And I'm going to ask this, because if I go down and record all these questions and request FOIA, I don't have faith that you guys are going to give me this. And I don't have faith this was reported. It says all uses of force, including instances where an officer draws, points a firearm, must be reported and subject to review by supervisors and the internal investigation. And my last question was, where was the duty to intervene? Where were the other officers required to intervene to prevent or stop the use of unreasonable force by another officer?
So I will tell you that based on the information you have that you've just provided, I do have concerns with how the officers responded to that. And I would like to speak to you about that incident so that we can get some information and we can follow up on it. I can tell you that, and again, I'm going to give the information. Believe it, don't believe it, that's choice. We follow up on all complaints of incidents like this and other things that happen, and those officers are held accountable. And I can tell you that there is a level of accountability that happens, and I would like to speak to you to ensure that the situation that you gave me is handled and resolved, and that you get the answers that you want. And I will have somebody talk to you to get your information, and we'll follow back up with you. Because I do not condone behavior that violates our policy, and the way that you are describing that, I would agree. It's a violation of policy. So if we could follow up with you, I would really appreciate that. If you're not willing to talk, I understand that also, but I would like to get that information from you so we can follow up. And with that, I do really appreciate everybody for being here, all of your comments, all of your concerns. Please know that the things that you say are taken seriously. I understand that sometimes the answers aren't what you want to hear. They're not provided in a way that you want. And I appreciate that and understand that. And we will continue to build these community relationships with each and every one of you. So thank you for being here.